Hey folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. Today is a big day in Truck King world because we finally get to drive this, the brand new 2022 Toyota Tundra. Now we're here at Toyota Canada's headquarters and we're just gonna get a little taste of the trucks, but we have to share it with you. Now we're driving two trucks today, that bright orange TRD Pro and this SR5 TRD Off-Road. And you know what? I can't wait. Let's get going. Let's kick this one off with the walk around, but very first I want to say we've done a full video already looking at this brand new Tundra. So if you really want to dig into the details, go watch that one. I'll put a link up here in the corner because this video, I'm going to tell you about the specs, but then we're going to go drive and we're going to talk a lot more about how this new truck actually feels. So what you're looking at right here is the TRD Pro with that big iForce Max hybrid. It's making 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque, and that is sent through a new 10-speed automatic transmission. And oh yeah, this is a 3.5 twin-turbo V6. No more V8s here in the Tundra. This color you see here on the TRD Pro is called Solar Octane. Now it is only going to come to the Tundra. If you get a Tacoma or a 4Runner TRD Pro from 2022, you cannot get this color. Now we've heard the feedback on styling, and just based off of the comments, people are pretty negative about this truck. Personally, I would say to you, wait until you see it in person. It changes the perspective of it. I think it's a nice looking truck. I think it is properly aggressive. I don't have any issues with it. But once again, please go in the comments now and let me know what you think. Is the Tundra better looking now or worse looking? Now let me show you some things here at the rear end of the Tundra. So you might have seen this already. There's a button that they built into this little taillight back here, which is gonna open your tailgate. But here's a detail you need to know. When the truck is locked, that button is not going to work. However, once you get the key, there is a proximity sensor here, so I'm able to open it just like that. That is a pretty slick feature, especially if you have your hands full. Here's what I like. You can get that with an elbow, maybe even a knee if you tried hard enough. I appreciate that. So big news in the bed here, composite bed. This is not steel. This is what the Tacoma has done for years. And you know what? I think it has a ton of advantages. Never gonna rust. You can chip it, it's no big deal. Biggest disadvantage, it's slippery, but of course you could always throw a bed mat in there if you want to. The other big advantage here, weight savings. This is significantly lighter than your last Tundra's bed was. All right, folks, we're out here in the hybrid Tundra, and I think first things first, we just gotta feel this power, because this thing's a monster. We're here on a dirt road, so hit it, Dad.
We're leaving some dirt, that's for sure.
Woo! That was all wheel spin.
That wasn't bad at all.
Nice. But it feels good, it feels powerful. You feel that electric, you know, power, that torque come on and just start pushing you. If that was on pavement, it would have pushed our heads back a bit, but of course on dirt, we just spun and spun. You know, compared to the 5.7 V8, this feels more powerful. That's what I'm feeling from over here.
It is more powerful, you know, and for those guys who are like V8, V6, you're gonna have a hard time swallowing that. But yeah, this thing makes more juice than the 5.7.
Definitely in the rear end there, you're doing almost 180 pound-feet of torque more with this hybrid V6 twin turbo power plant than the old 5.7 did, and you feel it. Here, you got a little pavement. Take off again for us. Watch us get stuck in the seat here. Jesus.
Oh. And even there,
had this head brace on.
Even there it burns a little bit of rubber. Yeah, it is. It's pushed you back in your seat acceleration. So no doubt with the big engine, I don't see anyone being disappointed with how much power's here. Let's talk interior now, and this is just like what's going on underneath the truck, everything inside the truck, all new. This looks nothing like the old Tundra. It feels nice, it feels totally modern. I love the screen in front of me, really nice, crisp graphics. The screen here in the center stack is nice. It's a little thing maybe, I love how the vents are kind of incorporated into the screen. It gives us this nice kind of smooth look to it. And then, you know, it's massive in here, super comfortable, huge panoramic sunroof up there. Yeah, I'm feeling great about the interior. What do you guys think?
I love that Toyota stuck with actual physical buttons up there on the front, and they even continue to incorporate those toggle switches for your different HVAC controls and all the other stuff down low.
Yeah.
No screens, no screens to tap. You can actually reach and go, yep, that's this button, yep, that's that button. There's no getting them confused.
For sure.
I like how it says Toyota right in front of me here in big letters. So if I start to forget what I'm driving, I have a reference point.
You're getting old.
It reminds you it's a TRD almost at every corner of this truck.
True.
In the lights, in the stamping, even on the top of the tailgate when it's down. It reminds you, you're driving a Tundra.
There's also a pile of cameras on this new Tundra, so you can take a look at them here. So here we can show you the camera system. First of all, it takes up this whole screen and looks really nice, and there's a ton of views. So that's your standard view, top, down, and rear. You do have a front camera wide. Oh, there's your front tires. That's super cool to be able to see right at your tire. You have your rear tires, and on this one, look, you can actually go wider. Look how wide that is. That's cool. Now what's this? There's your cargo cam. This one, interestingly enough, you can access while you're on the move. Even at 401 highway speeds, you can check what's in your bed. Now, what else do we got over here? Why can't I get my trailer cam on? This is the off-road camera, which is really cool as well. So you're seeing down the sides of your truck, and look, front tire and rear tire. And when I back up, it's giving me my tire's path. They're giving you a ton of information here. And now the one feature that I can't seem to make work just yet is in this box right here, it should be showing me what's underneath the Tundra. So I'm gonna try to roll forward really slowly and see if I can make it work. I've used it once before in a Lexus, and in the Lexus it was also a little finicky before it started working. Oh, there it is! There! No, Dad just had to hit the right button, so we were just hitting the wrong button. So, sorry, I went away there.
You gotta keep rolling, it'll generate the image.
No, I know, it's at a speed.
There it is.
So what it's doing is it's taking photos of what's in front of the truck and then superimposing them underneath the truck. And now if I come to a stop, you're right, you have to be on the move because it has to be grabbing them. But again, it's kind of neat. If you're off-road, you're running over a big obstacle, you get a sense for where it is underneath your vehicle. There's a lot of camera views here, man. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Another quick point, we're actually doing some city driving now. I'm just coming up to a red light. Two things. First of all, the brakes feel totally normal. You never know on a hybrid, sometimes the brakes can be really touchy. Seriously, totally normal. Could have been the last Tundra, the brakes feel fine. Secondly, the switch over between engine off to engine on, hybrid power to engine power, it's all seamless. And once again, you know, most hybrids are like that these days. I feel like it's way more rare that we say a hybrid has some weird jerkiness to it, but it's worth mentioning that getting out of the old 5.7 and getting into this hybrid, you're not gonna feel a bunch of weird stuff that you didn't feel before. It just feels normal. We've established it has a load of power. There are also drive modes here, and yes, there's a sport mode, so you put it in sport mode and that torque is even more immediate. So lots of power. Let's talk about how it handles. And the first thing I gotta tell you guys is this thing is roly-poly. I don't know how much this translates to the camera, but yeah, the body roll here is really, it's still present. It was present in the old TRD Pro. Not sure if it's worse, but it's definitely still there. And I guess what I want to say now is we need to take this truck properly off-road for me to tell you how the suspension would really handle a big hit. Toyota Canada asked us specifically not to go off-road today. This is one of only 2 Tundras in the entire country, so if we break it, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So
you swear they know us.
So driving on road, yeah, it's a little bit. It takes some work to drive this truck because it's a little floaty. There's a lot of movement going on when you're running over uneven pavement and stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't call it the most sorted ride on road, but of course those are you're giving up that on road for when you go off road. I just can't quite comment on that just yet.
No, but to that point, just so that we understand what we're talking about, when we talked to Chief Engineer Mike Sweers, he very specifically said they built an entirely new frame, fully boxed, splayed rear end frame for this truck. And what that means is that all the old equations on how to tune the suspension went out the window.
Yeah.
Because it's a ridiculously stiff frame. and they had to recalibrate everything. So consequently, this is, I'm not saying it's a work in progress, but it's different than the old one.
Yeah, it does not just feel like the old Tundra. And to Dad's point, new frame, yes, what you need to know, it now shares with the Land Cruiser. So Toyota was obviously looking for efficiencies, and they said the Tundra has to work on the Land Cruiser frame. That's why it's fully boxed, not because they wanted it fully boxed. So it became stiffer, and that's also why no more leaf springs in the rear end. We got the 5-link coil spring rear suspension. And, you know, again, this is me guessing, but I'm guessing that the rigidity that came out of that frame, they kind of said, we need softer suspension because the leaf springs are just going to rattle your teeth out. So.
Yeah, particularly for the off-road, because if you had the old suspension with this stiff frame, like Steve said, it would give you a concussion.
Yeah.
And with this on-road driving and that coil spring rear, though, it is quite comfortable. I mean, I'm thinking about the old one where I did shatter my teeth out going down the road empty.
You're right.
Like, I'm sitting back here and it's nice. I can fall asleep back here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is comfortable, and maybe I didn't say that totally right. Definitely comfortable. There's a lot more movement from the suspension than I'd expect. But you know what, everybody? This is the whole point of this video, and we're lucky Toyota Canada is setting us up with another Tundra. So we're going to get out of the TRD Pro now, and we're going to go get into the TRD Off-Road, and of course that is based on an SR5, so different interior, different driving dynamics, and just the twin turbo V6. So we'll see how that feels, and then we'll compare the two. Now let's take a look at the other Tundra we're going to drive today. This is an SR5 with the TRD Off-Road package. Under the hood, we have a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6, but of course without the hybrid setup. So this truck makes 389 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, also sent through a 10-speed automatic. And of course, we will tell you what it feels like once we get behind the wheel. Now, the other thing you're gonna notice, this truck doesn't look exactly like the TRD Pro, and of course, it doesn't get a lot of the upgrades. It doesn't get the lift that the Pro gets. It doesn't get the same exterior treatment the Pro gets, or the same tires. But it is the TRD Off-Road, so you still get unique suspension tuning and a rear locking differential. Let me now touch on towing and payload, and the first thing I want to tell you, new for 2022, you can get a crew cab with a 6.5-foot bed, so you get this long wheelbase model. This is going to be your best towing choice if you go with the Tundra. Now, looking at numbers, max tow on the Tundra when properly equipped, 12,000 pounds. Now, max payload is listed at over 1,900, but I always like to check the door jamb sticker. Right here on this truck, we're talking about 1,450 pounds of payload. Let's look at the business end of this Tundra, and I actually just want to tell you what's different. So this is an SR5, and that means no button over here in the taillight. That feature only comes once you get a higher trim. Now this does still have, though, a nicely damped tailgate. That is nice, but in the bed, we don't get the plug over here on the side. We also don't get the LED in-bed lights. So you do give up a few things, of course, going for a more base model. You also don't get the same camera system on this truck, and I can show you what that looks like inside. So I'll show you the camera now, and unlike that TRD Pro, which had a lot of camera angles, including the super cool one that shows you under the truck, this truck kind of has nothing. You got a backup camera like the government says you need, and that's it. And I think this truck, and I should mention this now, we should have said this earlier, pre-production truck, that's what we're driving today. It's got a couple little weird faults. It's not the truck's fault. For instance, I can't turn on the dynamic guidelines for some reason. But the point here is, if you go for the more basic Tundra, that's the only camera you're getting. Matt, put your foot into it. Let's feel this power.
It sticks you in your seat good.
It was not bad. Now, there's no doubt the lag here is more noticeable. Yeah. It doesn't have the battery power to kind of mask the turbo.
The hybrid motor definitely bridges that lag right off the line in the other engine, but that
it felt good. My coffee.
Oh well. Now, to put that feeling into numbers, this base Tundra engine makes 389 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. Of course, both of those numbers are more than that outgoing V8. So, yes, you know, it's not necessarily the linear power of the V8, and I do miss the noise. This does not sound nearly as tough as the V8 does. But even in the base engine, it's not disappointing for power, and in fact, it feels as if not more powerful than the outgoing model, and that's very important.
Plus, there's a lot of payload in here.
Yeah, 3 Elmers, right? It's pretty heavy today. So the other things we need to talk about is just now we're in the second truck, all of the differences. So I mentioned this is an SR5. It's a base model Tundra, and the interior here is entirely different. You're getting a much smaller screen. You're getting actual analog gauges in front of the driver, not just a digital display. We lose a lot of the things like wireless charging for my cell phone, USB ports in the back end. But that being said, I'll come back to it and say, I like the functionality of the interior, and I like the materials they've chosen. It doesn't feel, cheap.
No. And they did keep styling cues. Even though this is the smaller touchscreen, they kept these vent accents that carry through.
I noticed that too.
They kept the styling through all the models, just made it a little more condensed.
Yeah. So the interiors are different. The other big difference here is the wheelbase on this truck, and this is actually something new for 22. And I actually want to take a second to say, we spoke with Mike Sweers, chief engineer of the truck. They spent a ton of time on towing. He went on and on and on about towing. So I think, yeah, based on what they said, this should be the best towing Tundra ever, and this setup is one of those things that they did to make sure of it. This is the crew cab with the 6.5-foot bed back there, so we're getting that long wheelbase, which should be great for towing. So in this SR5, we still get the coil springs in the rear end, but of course we don't get the suspension tuning and the unique shocks that you're getting on the TRD Pro, plus the tires are different, so we definitely have a whole different feel here. So now I'll turn it to you, Matt. What are you feeling from behind the wheel? What are the differences, really?
This truck feels a lot more solid on the road, definitely more planted. It is comfortable still, but like you were mentioning, you don't get the extra body roll.
The body roll.
We're not feeling a lot more flex. It seems to just be straight ahead and confident.
Yeah, and then without the leafs in the rear end, I remember the old Tundra, it really could chatter,
Yeah.
And you don't get any of that stiffness or chatter. So I think, definitely a more comfortable truck today than it was before. So I mentioned they went really out of their way on towing. A couple of the technologies they've added, they have trailer blind spot monitoring, and it's automatic, so it'll measure the length of your trailer. That's pretty cool. There's a new system. We're not going to test it today. It's basically a trailer backup system that will back your truck and trailer up dead straight without you needing to touch the steering wheel at all. That's kind of neat. And then the things we do have here today, an integrated trailer brake controller, really nice to have. And maybe one of the most interesting things, because no one's ever done this as far as I know, a 2-stage tow haul mode. So if you're hauling a little baby trailer under 5,000 pounds, put on stage 1. If you're hauling a 10,000 pound trailer, you put on tow haul stage 2, and that's going to change your throttle mapping and your transmission mapping based on the weight you have. So that's actually pretty smart as well. So you hear the truck dinging right now? That's because Dad's seatbelt is off. Yell at him, internet, he's bad. But it's interesting, right? You're not used to having seatbelt sensors in the rear, but this truck does it for all 3 positions. So if you got bad kids back there or a bad dad, it'll let you know. And then finally, as you notice, Dad's driving now. Matt got kicked to the back seat. So Dad, why don't you tell us what you're feeling now from behind the wheel?
TRD Off-Road, SR5, long wheelbase, significant difference from the TRD Pro. I get the TRD Pro. If that's what you want that off-road capability, go for it. But honestly, this is my choice. This is a much nicer on-road drive. And I'm still getting a lot of the really good off-road things, like that rear locker. Those are the things that I think are important. And yet, I can hardly wait till we get a chance to hook this thing up to a trailer, because with that extra length in here, I think it's going to feel really, really good. So all in all, like I said, no issue with the TRD Pro, but you're going to have to take your licks when you're on road. Whereas this thing, it's very, very nice.
Yeah, and what's good to know there is, this suspension and this feeling should really carry over to all the other trucks in the lineup that aren't TRD Pro. And I think we can just safely say that this Tundra is much more comfortable to drive than it was before.
Amen.
Well, folks, we're coming to the end of this one. First thing I have to tell you, this was just a little 3-hour test drive. Very soon we will have one of these Tundras at our Ironwood test facility, and you know we'll go off-road and tow some trailers. I think the biggest takeaway though from our drive today, the Tundra now is more powerful, more comfortable, and it has all the technology to compete in today's half-ton truck market. So like I said, that's it for this one. Please now go below. Let me know what you think of the new Tundra. While you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of our channel, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.